Hello, everyone. This is Dapo, and I'm back again with my YouTube short videos, I would say. Today, I like discussing so many things around tech. As a business analyst, I enjoy just discussing different areas of business in relation to tech. So today, what I really want to discuss is around cybersecurity and data protection, data governance, and stuff like that, really. So today, I actually came here with my friend, who is a cybersecurity expert, I would say. Opeyemi, would you try to introduce yourself to my audience?
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Opeyemi. I work in cybersecurity operations.
Thank you very much, Ope. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And today, basically, what I really want us to quickly, walk through is kind of to just tell some of our or all of our followers or viewers, on things regarding the relationship between business and cybersecurity, really. And I've gone really, really specific into different areas of cybersecurity because I know cybersecurity has, a lot of areas which we can actually discuss. But for me, I think what actually inspired this topic in my mind today is because, with the advent of different AI tools in the business world today. And of course, personally, I know we all definitely use AI tools. I see so
Yeah,
many businesses trying to implement, tools like Copilot, some ChatGPT, Claude, and a lot of those things. But there is always a worry. I'm very close with the business, to the business as a business analyst. But there's these questions amongst people within a company or an organization asking about, how secure is our data? Is our data protected? Is the AI going to go into our data? So I don't really want to make this conversation specific about AI. I'm trying to kind of focus it more on that data protection. So when we say data protection, from your own perspective as a cybersecurity analyst, yes, why does data protection matter to the business? Why is it important to the business? What would you say?
I think that's a very good one to start with. When we talk about cybersecurity as a field itself, I dare say that the backbone of cybersecurity is data protection. That is the core of what we do. And if I can bring it to something that relates to us more, let me say you've got an information with a friend, with a colleague, or just your information sitting somewhere.
Yeah.
If it's something very important to you, I believe that you will be very interested in what happens to that data. And in fact, not to start with what happens to it, as you having a personal information, you are bothered about who you give that information to.
Yeah.
So is the same with us in cybersecurity. Why data matters to us this much, I would say, is to start with trust. People who have given out their data, people who have given out their information,
Yeah.
have held you to a certain level of trust that they believe that you can keep it safe.
Yeah.
So that will be the first reason I would say that makes data to be very important in cybersecurity or to us in cybersecurity. Another thing is the financial obligation that can come with not handling data properly. I want to talk, this is in terms of regulations. I would
Hmm.
mention one of the regulator, let me say GDPR, for instance,
Yeah.
which looks into general data protection. This policy has that power or the authority to fine an organization a huge chunk of money actually when there's any issue of data breach. So you want to, as a CEO, as someone up high there, you are worried, you are bothered, it is your responsibility to make sure you don't fall victim of having to pay such penalty. So
Hmm.
data matters because of that as well. Another reason is because of the operational effect that could happen. There can be an operational disruption. I'll say when we have organizations that are like probably customer based, where there is
Yeah.
transaction on on a daily basis or minute basis.
Yeah.
If anything happens to your data, there is going to be a breakdown. And once there is a breakdown, operation is going to have to stop. Do you understand? So that's a huge loss again to such organization. And another reason, okay, let me put this as the final reason now, why
That's so many
data
reasons,
is
right?
very important to us in cybersecurity. This is more about reputational
Yeah.
what's it called, image or damage that could happen. You know, when, let me say, for instance, your organization is involved in any data breach, for instance, the news goes out there so fast and it flies out so fast, just like negative news, you understand? So imagine someone out there just hears, oh, this so company has been involved in this particular situation. You, as an individual or a prospective customer, will not
Hmm.
go to such organization. And
Definitely,
so
definitely.
for the management, data breach matters a lot. So this is why data is a core thing for us in cybersecurity, and this is why it matters a whole lot. That I would say.
Uh, that sounds really comprehensive. And
Yeah.
as you were making your point, I was actually taking some notes just
Okay.
so I can actually just speak about more things from
Yeah.
some of your points. And one
Mm-hmm.
thing that really came across to myself is when you spoke around data breach, the reputational damage it causes to the organization. And I
Yeah.
just thought about it from my own perspective, like being a business analyst. you know, one of the things we definitely do, and I know you would have heard this a lot of times. People when people speak about this analysis about business analysis, they always say, "Oh, you work about requirements," but it's not just about requirements or processes. Okay, the thing is, there are some of these important information that we actually need to understand. Do you understand? Like, what are the if I'm working on a project, for example, now I really want to understand. Do we have any external factors like compliance regulations? That guides whatever decision we're going to make when it comes to requirements of stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I really just love that you actually pointed, a little bit into that because I can start seeing if someone comes to ask me, oh, how does a BA work with the cybersecurity? You're really giving me so many ideas, and I
Yeah.
think I think I'm just going
I
to
mean, we work hand in hand. You have to start it from your own angle, look at the requirement and how this particular process is going to work.
yeah,
Ours is to make sure we back it up and make sure
definitely,
that the process is secured.
definitely.
Yeah.
So when we talk about how cybersecurity supports compliance, for example.
Yeah.
How would you describe that? When we're talking about cybersecurity and compliance together, what exactly would you say that is?
Okay. So for us, from your own perspective, like you've said, you have to gather the requirements that would ensure that the organization is compliant. But from the cybersecurity as point of view,
Hmm.
we want to ensure that in terms of data, for instance, now
Yes.
that people who have access to those set of data
Yeah.
are the people who
Hmm.
actually needs them.
Okay. So are you speaking about something like role-based access?
Yeah. So we are
Because the
going
way
there.
the way you're speaking, something that actually came to my mind, and it's basically, one of the things I forgot to actually mention the other time
Yeah.
is basically how, when I'm doing all these requirements, defining those processes, we need to actually, actually identify the people, the stakeholders that are actually that these regulations is applicable to. So I want you to speak more about that because that actually piqued my interest because you
Yeah.
mentioned it.
So I get there. This process is actually, a tree with different branches.
Yeah.
You talked about role-based access control.
Yeah.
We have things. We have another system which I would describe as, having privilege access. And there's
Okay.
something in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Least privilege is a very key thing for us in cybersecurity.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Did you call it what privilege?
Least privilege.
Okay, list. Okay, okay.
So for every of the privilege that you get, all of
Yeah.
this is based on role, access, and all of that. Your
Okay.
role has to determine what kind of access you get to a particular
Okay.
set of information. So let's
Mm,
say, for instance, you only need to get to this point of access. In
okay.
cybersecurity, it is our duty to ensure that you don't have more than that form of access.
And how do you say this? Are these through policies or I
Okay,
know
so
there's
this
teams
this can
teams
be
around
done through policy. I don't want to get too technical into
that? You don't want to
this,
get into the
but there
nitty
are
gritty.
platforms. There are platforms where we can create an account, and your
Mm-hmm.
account has those least privileges of how far you can go in a system database.
In a system design. Okay.
So,
That's really, really
for
understand.
instance, if you are not responsible for, say, seeing what people do on their back end,
Yeah.
because okay, let me give us a practical instance here.
Yeah, that'd be
If
lovely.
if I am a cybersecurity analyst, for instance, in an
Yeah.
hospital environment, I'm
Okay.
using the United Kingdom um, environment now. There are things we call personal information. These are
Yeah.
P2 information, P1, and all of that, that we don't want other people having exposure to. For
Just for
instance, your
clarity,
NHS number.
for just for clarity for the viewers that are not really technical, when you say P, are you talking about priorities? Is that
Yeah,
the way they're
yeah,
prioritized?
yeah, yeah. They are
Okay.
priorities. So
Yeah.
let's say,
Don't
for
mind me. I'm a
instance,
BA. I ask so many questions.
sometimes it could be personal information as well, but yeah, in context matters, anyways. So, for instance, now when you have someone who sits at the back end and has access to your, what's it called, your NHS number, for instance, your
Yeah.
passport
Yeah.
number, things like that. You want to
Yeah.
ensure that it is people who have been authorized to
Mm,
view such data that have
mm.
access to it. So
Okay.
it matters a lot to ensure that the start of this is knowing the kind of data an organization holds.
Mm.
When you know the kind of data an organization holds,
Okay.
people who needs to interact with such information, these are
Yes.
things you need to put in place
Hmm.
in order to get to that part of least privilege. People who need to then see that information is also determined, and how far
Okay.
they can see such information is also determined.
Mm.
So again, it brings me to another concept in cybersecurity to say we are segmenting data. So
Yeah.
data has to be segmented,
Yeah.
the type of data we have,
Mm.
and the kind of people that needs to see them. That's why I said all of this is determined by your role and by the privilege that you are given, and all of this has to be verified that this person does not have more access than they require to do their job. So if you
Yeah.
don't need this much access, we don't give you. There are normal accounts, there are administrator accounts that can then do more and have more view. In
Yeah.
fact, I can speak more to
I see. I
to,
see. You're getting really passionate
to
about it.
personality. I will start talking about security clearance in a place like
Yeah.
UK, where you, if you don't hold a security clearance, if you have not gone through a process of
Yes.
being checked, you cannot be given some certain role, even in cybersecurity.
In
You can apply
cybersecurity.
for them, you won't get them because of the
Mm.
kind of data that is being dealt with in such organizations. So,
I get it.
security control is a big matter
It's a big
in
matter.
cybersecurity.
Yeah, and for me, looking at it from my own perspective, and I know you speak a lot about security. I speak about a lot about business, and it's like my role is just about that channel between teams like cybersecurity teams and other technical teams, obviously, and the business. And for me, looking at everything you've been saying, one of the from my experience or conversation about even with fellow colleagues, one of the
Yeah.
key or the major key mistakes I see that business actually make is when it comes to things of security, compliance, data classification, or all these access privilege and everything you manage. They just take it strictly IT. It's strictly owned by
Mhm.
the IT, which I don't necessarily feel, when you speak with people that are not within the technical team, and with BAs who are just like one leg in the business and one leg with the
Yeah.
technical team, they just feel, oh, that's an IT problem. That's an IT issue. That's an IT. So from my own perspective, yeah, how can we improve the awareness within the business? Do you understand? So because I just see it every time where people just feel, oh, when it comes to cybersecurity, those technical guys will undo it. And I kind of feel there are things we could actually push to them or tell them, or how we can actually help them to understand that cybersecurity or security starts with you. So from your own perspective, yeah, what would you say are like what would you say are like how we can actually improve employee awareness within an organization on cybersecurity issues? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Or do you want me to repurpose my question?
Well, I think I can pick up what we need to discuss there. So you are asking how we can improve um, user
Awareness.
awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently I had a post on LinkedIn. Let me digress a little bit. And I was thinking, and I said, where your data flows again is it increases where the breach is possible.
Hmm.
No, it's the extent where you drop your data determines where it can get what's it called? When undue access can be gotten to your data
Okay.
as well. So in cybersecurity, it is also our responsibility, like you have said or like asked, that how then do we help people to become more aware? One thing I know organizations do, I will start
Yeah.
with that, is when you're getting into the organization, there are different forms of training. And it
Hmm.
is important that people take these very important.
So are you not saying I can't just skip around this
You
training
know,
and quickly
you
get to
see,
the end?
I know a lot of people are very, very, very
I'm not
guilty
saying
of
I do
this.
that. I just know
But
I've heard of it, right? Like,
everyone accepts so many regulations without reading them.
hmm,
You are getting into probably a new app now, a new
yeah,
application, and they have their terms and conditions. You are not even asking, because all of these things are in those long messages that everybody ignores. How
definitely.
much of your data they are going to collect, what they are
Yeah,
going to be doing with your data, and you give access to all of those things without even
yeah,
thinking. So in cybersecurity, let me bring it back to the organization now. In
yeah.
cybersecurity, it is very important that there are trainees. And I tell you now, there are now more friendly trainers that you can get. For
When you say
instance,
friendly, is it, is
I,
it user friendly?
I want to be as polite as I can, but people are very lazy, so to say. So now
Oh,
we have we have trainings that looks like Netflix. Uh,
okay,
I wouldn't want to give any title now because that belongs to some organization. But there are now
definitely.
various forms of trainings that
Yeah.
you can watch, and it looks as if you're watching movies. That's an improvement.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. So before, it used to be non-engaging forms of training that
Yeah,
people just have to read. Oh, okay, this is not allowed in this organization. This is allowed in this organization. Now we have something that relates more with you as a person.
yeah.
Those form of training. Another way organization then tries to um, train people or make people more aware of data protection is also ensuring that, for instance, every week there are automated phishing simulation, and that brings AI again into it in a good way
Into the
now.
conversation.
There are automated phishing simulation campaigns where relatable content are sent to you. We just want to
Hmm.
see how careful you are. Because
Mm.
in every form of data breach usually starts from something as little, pardon that word little now, it's actually a big deal, as little as phishing, as little as clicking an unnecessary link or a link you
Mm.
have not verified.
Yeah,
So
unverified.
we try to ensure that there are periodic training
Yeah.
that comes to your laptop that looks like what you do day to day. And once you feel that once in a while, it brings to your consciousness that before you interact with any information, before you interact with any email or any form of social engineering, you are being careful and you think twice before you do
Mm.
that. So these are ways organizations are trying to ensure that user awareness is brought to fore. Another reason, the last one out here, is a sort of forceful uh, how do I put it down? Forceful way to make you do what is right.
Okay.
And I will say that as so. Let me use this as an instance. There's something called the insider risk management. These are
Okay.
actions that users. You are working in an organization. There are things you do as an employee that can put the organization into a great risk. So there are platforms, there are technical tools that can be used to compel you
Yeah.
not to make those errors. So for instance, I can put up a system to ensure that if you are sending an email to a particular domain, let's
Yeah.
say an unfriendly domain, for instance, now it's a Gmail or whatever form of account. If you
Okay.
send multiple
Email.
emails out at a particular time frame, I can have a threshold to show that you are actually doing something suspicious, which then
Mm.
brings you to our own table as someone who works in cybersecurity operations to see what you're doing. And if that needs to be escalated to the legal team or the HR team, then, once you have that awareness that whatever you are doing is in quotes being watched, it makes you to be more careful over time. So these are things put in place to ensure that employees and people generally are careful and
Yeah.
aware of how they protect their data.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Always giving me comprehensive answers. I love that. Right. I think you will be a very good stakeholder, which I can actually manage if I'm in the same organization as you or work on the same
I'll
project
take
at
that
the same
as a
time.
compliment.
Oh, I don't give much of it, so just try and enjoy it.
Oh, I know. Business analysts can be very strict.
But as you were speaking as well, something also came to my mind, and it's around, when we continue talking about, raising awareness within the business and stuff like that. One of the things I've actually noticed is when I speak to business people, let me use the word now, business people now, or business
Yep.
stakeholders,
Yep.
right? One of the things that they always focus on is speed.
Speed.
The speed, yeah, they just want to go fast. Yeah, want to get things done fast. I want my processes to be well fixed, as soon as you can. From your own perspective, yeah, being a cybersecurity analyst and based on your experience,
Yeah.
how do you manage that pressure of, the business is asking for speed? And what would you say is the most important thing, and speed or control,
Ah, that's an easy link to answering that. When you say speed or control, so
Yeah,
I know that for business, uh, for a business analyst maybe, or people who are interested in moving the business forward, their aim or what is a priority to them is
yeah,
how there won't be disruption in the business flow, how
exactly.
this can be done, how we can get this done quickly. Yeah, but
Quickly
we
bring the
are
money.
also your teammates in this. We are together with you on this. We are
Yeah.
looking for a way to avoid a bigger problem. That's
Mm,
all we are after. Avoiding the bigger problem. Let me tell you, as much as you want to log into your computer in a few seconds,
yeah.
I want you to, as a business or as a cybersecurity person, I want you to have that done quickly. There are methods now that allows you to do it in a few seconds, which I will
I,
touch
I,
on.
I don't think I don't think people in the business feels that way, but
Yeah, because okay, this is it. They don't feel that way, but we need to remind them or
mm,
let them know of the greater risk.
yeah.
This is just risk management.
Mm,
What is the advantage of you logging into your computer without us verifying that you are actually the one who is logging in? We
it's
want
like
to ensure that the right person is the one accessing um, a, a, a set of data. We want to ensure that the right person is the one who have access to what he or she is trying to access. Let me just put it that way. Yeah. So
yeah.
talking about logging in into an application, for instance, now, we don't just want you to have a free access. That's just like you leaving your door open and anyone can come in. I
Mm,
see our information as a building. If you leave the door open, there are lots of vulnerabilities that can
yeah.
come through. So the
Absolutely.
door is what you see as an obstruction, but it's what we see as protection. For instance, if I'm making sure that you're having your multi-factor authentication done, it
Hmm.
takes few seconds.
Definitely.
You business analysts want that free pass so that nothing is disturbed. I am
I would say
saying,
the business itself, like the people.
okay, yeah. Oh, that's you. That's you
Let me
taking
defend
yourself out
business
of it. But
analysts. We kind of
that's fair
understand the
enough.
risk,
That's
yeah.
that's that's fair enough. So you want that free access, but we know the risk that comes with having that free access.
Mm,
Hence, why there are things like multi-factor authentication. We
that's
want
good.
to be sure that you are who you are. So that little time just needs some sort of explanation or some sort of agreement to say that, yeah, speed is good,
Yeah,
but due process must not be
needs to be
ignored.
followed.
And a way to ensure, there are now new ways. Usually, before you have to have maybe some sort of authentication, maybe let's say Microsoft Authenticator app or something where you can validate with a code
Yeah.
that you are the one accessing that particular information. Now there are things like biometrics, just your fingerprints. We've got laptops now where once you're getting in, your fingerprint can do that. We've got laptop now that just your face can validate that you are the one who is accessing a set of information. So
So I can just say that makes it quite faster and meets
yeah, it makes it
the
quite faster,
speed
and
requirements.
that is where we are trying to get to a meeting
Yeah,
point to say that as much as you want speed, we want
yeah,
speed as well, but due process must still be
needs to be
followed.
followed. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely, and I agree with that, obviously.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah, that's really great. That's really great. I think we've been speaking since we've been speaking for the past, is it an hour already, but maybe about 30 minutes or so.
Are you
But one of the
serious?
things, what
Did
no,
you
no,
go
no,
like that?
possibly. I was hoping it was going to be a very short video, but I'm really enjoying every insight you're giving. And one of the things from my own perspective is, I kind of just enjoy the fact that you are simplifying these things for people, for example, that are actually not within your field. And
Yes.
that's the most important things. We would have viewers that they are not cybersecurity analysts, so they don't even work there yet. So they're even trying to get into it. These
Mhm.
things simplify very well. And I think I'm enjoying that conversation. So that's why I'm prolonging this conversation, if
Then
that
bring
makes
it on.
sense. But again, I think let's start rounding up here. And I think one
Yeah.
of the things I really wanted to say is, yeah, we've been speaking about all this fancy stuff since morning, and our the importance of cybersecurity, ensuring the right people have access to the right things. In that terrible situation, I was reading the news a few weeks ago, and I heard, oh, this particular organization, I don't want to mention their names because I could just,
Please don't.
there was a cyber leak, and and they had to like tell all their staff to close their laptops, stop working. They lost so much money within a few hours that they were shut down. Do you understand? So when things actually go wrong, yeah, what actually happens then from your perspective? Things will definitely go wrong. I guess you would have seen it when things have actually go wrong. So
Well,
what happens when things go wrong?
that's why
I've,
we are
I've, I've
here.
clicked on a wrong link, for example, and now I've lost the organization money. What happens? What's next?
Okay, so when things go wrong,
Yeah.
and that is what we always try to avoid, but that's not the end of the world. Yeah, because
Mm,
I mean, we should be prepared for it. Again,
okay.
every cybersecurity person knows that one of the very another three core things you must be prepared for as an organization
Yeah.
is that you must have the right people. That's the
Okay.
cybersecurity personnel. You must have the right process in place when things happen, and you must have the right technology. Those three things are very important.
People,
PPT.
process, technology, PPT.
As a
That's
cyber analyst, as a business analyst, you do a lot of acronyms. That's why. So yeah, but you need to be certain that you have these three things in place for this when things go wrong. And I'll talk about the right people, for instance. You must have
mm,
people who are skilled. Someone has just called. I've clicked the wrong link. I have put in my official credentials. My laptop is behaving funny. What then happens? That kicks in the process. As an organization, you must have the process. First thing is detection. Oh, you have done it. Let's say the person actually tells the IT team that
yeah.
he or she did that. In another situation, you did not tell us. The right technology will let us know.
Mm.
And that's detection. This person has done something they ought not to do.
So is detection like the first part of the process? Like what triggers the
Yes,
process? Okay.
yes.
Oh, not
The
necessarily.
first, the first process of incident response, because I call this an incident and there's a
Okay.
response to it. The first process to it is actually preparation. But I didn't mention that because you can't be preparing when the breach has happened.
Has happened.
The preparation
It's
part
too
is
late.
for when it has not happened. Do you
Okay.
understand? So
So
it has
would you
happened.
say that preparation part is you actually having the PPT
Yeah,
in
it's
place?
part. Yeah,
So okay.
that's the core thing. The preparation is when you have all of those processes in place.
Yeah.
Now it has happened.
Mm-hmm.
We have detected by either means, maybe our technology or the user has reported a funny thing happening in their device. Detection kicks in. What has happened? Investigation is the next process. We want to see what led to the problem. And this is where we do log analysis, timeline analysis, trying to investigate whatever the person has done. You have input your official credential. Where did it lead you to? What has happened to your device? Is there any block? Is there any exposure? These are the this is the point where we get to know that once we are able to validate that indeed this is an incident, it could be an
Yeah.
event, it could have just happened, there might be no breach. But once we have been able to validate this is an incident, containment kicks in.
Mm.
We have to contain it. You are the one, your device is the one having that problem. We need to isolate you from the network. And this
Okay.
is protecting the bigger organization,
Mm.
because there might be some form of lateral movement. If I have access to one, I can have access to the whole organization. So
Mm.
once we have discovered or we have determined that there's a true breach, then we contain that. We want to
That's it.
ensure that it does not go beyond what it is.
Mm.
So because of time, I'll wrap it up quickly. We try to contain whatever the problem is. And once we've been able to contain it, we try to remediate what
Okay.
has happened. Let's try to find a solution to that. And once
Yeah.
we remediate, we want to ensure that at the end of the day, we have been able to validate that this breach happens and we have remediated it. We then want to bring it back to how it was in the normal way. And then we try to ensure that maybe password is changed, all of those, form of remediation, just to ensure that the person comes back as they were before that breach. You understand?
Okay.
Then the last bit is maybe for us as cybersecurity operation and as a business entirely, lesson learned. What has happened? What can we do going forward?
Going
Where did
forward.
we miss it? That is in a case where we were able to control the situation. In a place where we are unable to control it, it's a longer process. A report has to be made to regulators within 72 hours that, yeah, we have been breached. Maybe there has been a ransomware or something. We are being asked to pay this amount of money. Whatever the situation is, you have to report that. So
Yes.
these are situations that happen when there's a data breach. I believe I've answered that.
You have,
Really,
and I think one of the things I just, being a business person or looking at it from a business perspective, is
yeah,
I just feel when these things happen, there will be an impact or interruption to the business, definitely for
that's
that short period. And
yeah,
just because I'm just thinking of, a very little interruption due to cybersecurity issues can actually cost you a lot of money.
a lot,
It's
a lot.
a lot if you're not careful about it. But just in few words, as you're rounding up, in very few
Mhm.
words, because I know you go into in depth into things, and you're very passionate about this career, and I kind of appreciate the fact that you are really really knowledgeable about it as well. What practical advice would you give to business organizations right now? When it comes to the data that they hold, how they actually manage security, cybersecurity issues, how they actually, create that awareness within the business. Just a practical advice that organizations need to follow. It could be small organizations and big ones, But what do you think is much more kind of encompassing across the level of organizations? It could be small, medium, or big organization.
All right. To wrap this up here, I think that few things for organizations to ensure that they can protect their data better.
Yeah.
Ensure you are not collecting more than you need.
Hmm. Fair point.
Ensure that the data being collected at any point is what is required. Number two thing is be aware of the kind of data you have. If you don't know the kind of data you have, how do you protect it? And know what rule or regulations are behind the kind of data that you have in your custody. Be aware of what might go wrong and what you need to do when they go wrong. And again, as an organization, as a business, there
Yeah.
must be data control in place at all times. You must always have a sort of control. You see, when you keep data, I don't know if people pay attention to this. There must be a retention period in all organizations. If you're collecting a particular data, know how long you want to keep that data is. Ensure you get people's permission and validation that you can actually keep it for that long. There's no need having some data in your database for too long. You increase your risk. So for organization, I would say data retention period is very important. Data
Yeah.
visibility is very important. Data awareness is very important. These are things that organization needs to do going forward to ensure that they keep it safe. And for user awareness in the organization, I think continuous training. Training is not a thing that needs to ever stop. You must always look for means to incorporate cybersecurity trainings in your organization. It's
Mm.
it has to be done. It's something that you must not get tired of doing. Investing in cybersecurity training is a core part of the business and it must not be neglected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But really, that's really good. And again, one of the things I really wanted to get out of this conversation, aside the fact that, I really want to know more or want my viewers to actually know more about the importance of cybersecurity within a business context as well, is you touched on some key points right now at the end of your last points. You were saying things around organization needs to be aware of their data
Yeah.
and they need to understand the business rules and regulation. And I know you're gonna be like, oh, this BA is here again. And for me, this is where another important aspect where you need BAs, right? One of the things that we do is you see the documentation of understanding all this data, understanding this data, understanding the business rule and regulation, how they fit into everything, are part of what we do as as business analysts. It's not just requirements, it's not just process mapping.
Yeah.
We do all these things to ensure there's this huge awareness across the business. And things are actually well documented. They
Yes.
are well documented appropriately, and they can always be referred or referenced to when needed. So I
Yes.
actually got that, and I just wanted to add
That's
that. I
important.
just wanted to add that point that I can actually see a lot of places where business
Yeah.
analysis actually miss cybersecurity when it comes to data protection and awareness.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. We work hand in hand on that basis. Yes.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Ope. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. And I think for our viewers, I'm sure this is a very, very insightful session. I think I will have to bring you back much more again in the near future, absolutely,
Okay.
because
Let's do
I enjoy
this.
this. And again, I see that there are a lot of areas we can actually discuss and speak about when it comes to cybersecurity. So I know today we
Okay.
focus on data protection. I think in the very near future, again, I would invite you again so that we can also speak about some other areas which people may not really know about, or they just don't know so much about it.
It will be an honor to come back again. Yeah. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much, and it's
Yeah.
very good to have you here. And I guess we'll speak soon.
All right. Cheers.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye.
Bye.